If you're anything like me, then you've been seeing a lot of these same posts on TikTok lately. They're posts about Undertale, featuring a drawing of a relatively normal looking Frisk at LV1, and then another drawing of an uncanny, horribly deformed looking Frisk at LV20. Now don't get me wrong, I think the art featured in these posts are absolutely incredible. A lot of the art really does look super great, and these uncanny versions of Frisk truly capture that horribly dreadful feeling that the genocide route of Undertale is all about. I'm also pretty sure that the first of these images to be posted were actually jokes even. Besides, I'm not an artist, and I'm definitely not able to draw any better, so I have no right judging people's art skills. But that's not what I'm here to judge. I've seen some comments online seriously claiming that the fan-made concept of Frisk physically appearing less human over the course of the genocide route is quote, canonically accurate, which is just completely untrue. At first, I thought these people just weren't sure what it meant for something to be canon, and while that can be true for many fandoms, I think the actual misunderstanding comes from a misinterpretation of some dialogue in the genocide route. The most notable example of this that I see the most often is Asgore's dialogue when he first sees you in the genocide route. After you finally kill Sans, you make your way to Asgore's throne room, and he turns around to greet you like normal. However, his dialogue here is different than it was in the pacifist and normal routes. Instead of greeting you with his usual dialogue, he says the line, "What kind of monster are you?" I think this is where the confusion comes from. I've seen people genuinely believing that Asgore actually thinks Frisk isn't a human based on their appearance. Since Asgore has seen plenty of humans before, shouldn't he recognize them? Well, the way I see it, this line isn't meant to be taken so literally. The genocide route consistently plays with the titles of human and monster. It makes the point that despite technically being a human, your lack of morals make you even more of a monster than the literal monsters living underground. Your actions are inhuman, and that's a key point of the genocide route, which Asgore's dialogue highlights. Him asking, "What kind of monster are you?" is the game pointing out your monstrous behavior more explicitly. It's not that Frisk literally looks like a monster now, it's an allegory for how people can be judged based on their moral qualities. Sans also says something similar when you first meet him, telling you to pretend to keep being a human, but this is very obviously allegorical, in the same way that Asgore's dialogue was. The other point I've heard is that Flowey tells you to stop making that creepy face when you start approaching him. This makes even less sense to me. First of all, if it were due to Frisk being deformed and monstrous in appearance, wouldn't Flowey point it out immediately, not speak to you normally for several minutes before suddenly being startled out of nowhere? The quote, creepy face Flowey is referring to, I believe, is actually implied to be the same face that Chara makes as a kid for fun. In one of the True Lab VHS tapes, Asriel asks Chara to do the creepy face, to which Asriel shrieks in fear moments after. Asriel is Flowey, and the fact that in both scenes he gets scared by a creepy face strongly implies that Frisk's face is a reference to that, or perhaps even Chara's control over Frisk making that face. I see no reason for it to have anything to do at all with Frisk having a different appearance due to their level of violence. I think the idea of Frisk changing appearance with different levels of violence is a really interesting concept, and that the fanart that people have been making of it is fantastic, but I think some people need to separate that idea from what's canon in the game. Headcanons are fine too. I'm all for headcanons, but it's different to claim that something is canon when it clearly isn't. I think it's also important to identify the allegorical significance of dialogue and scenes like this, instead of just taking them too literally. Anyways, those are just my quick thoughts on the topic. I wanted to share them while they're still relevant, which is why this video was really short and might seem a bit rushed. Again, no hate at all towards any of the artists or people who came up with this idea, it's just my take on it. As always, thanks so much for watching. I've been Freezy, and I will see you next time.